Egypt was united by war, but unity alone doesn't create a civilization. That job fell to one man, King HOR-AHA. He was the first ruler to turn Egypt from a conquered land into a functioning empire. When King Narmer, the unifier of Egypt, died, the new kingdom was fragile. Upper and Lower Egypt were united in name, but loyalty was not guaranteed. Local rulers, the powerful chieftains Narmer had defeated, still held power in their regions. Old enemies still remembered their defeat, and the desire for revenge simmered just beneath the surface. Rebellion was always one step away. This was the world HOR-AHA inherited, a kingdom created by blood that could collapse just as easily. So, who was HOR-AHA? He was most likely Narmer's son, raised in a royal court shaped by the realities of war, politics, and divine belief. His very name, HOR-AHA, means Horus the fighter. This wasn't symbolic. It was a mission statement, a warning to anyone who would challenge his rule. From his upbringing, HOR-AHA understood one fundamental truth: conquest creates a kingdom, but only control can keep it alive. He knew that his father's victory was just the beginning. The real work was about to start. One of HOR-AHA's first and most brilliant actions was constant movement. He didn't stay locked away in one capital. Instead, he traveled constantly between Upper and Lower Egypt, showing himself to the people as the living, breathing king of both lands. This is when the idea of the pharaoh as a visible, divine ruler truly began to take shape. He wasn't a distant concept. He was a physical presence, and his presence was not always peaceful. He crushed early rebellions, especially in the volatile Nile Delta, making it brutally clear that unification was permanent. There would be no more rival crowns, no more divided Egypt. Under HOR-AHA, the two lands were finally becoming one nation. But HOR-AHA's greatest achievement was perhaps political, not military. He was instrumental in establishing a new capital, Memphis. The location was genius. Memphis sat perfectly at the junction of Upper and Lower Egypt, a symbol of balance, control, and central authority. It was the pivot point of the entire kingdom. From this new city, the king could rule both lands effectively, control the vital trade routes along the Nile, command armies, and oversee the religious life of the nation. This single decision to build Memphis shaped the course of Egyptian history for thousands of years. HOR-AHA also understood the power of belief. He brilliantly strengthened the idea that the king was chosen by the gods. He was closely associated with Horus, the powerful sky god and the ultimate symbol of kingship. Under his reign, temples grew in importance, religious rituals became standardized across the land, and the pharaoh became the absolute center of religious life. This was not just about faith. It was a masterful stroke of political control. If the king was divine, if he was the living embodiment of a god on earth, then rebellion wasn't just treason, it was blasphemy. Disobeying the pharaoh was disobeying the gods themselves. But HOR-AHA's ambition didn't stop at simply maintaining Egypt's borders. He expanded them. Military campaigns pushed south into Nubia, a land rich with gold, and east into the Sinai Peninsula, a source of valuable copper and turquoise. These campaigns weren't just for conquest. They were for resources. The gold, copper, and precious stones brought back from these expeditions became the foundations of Egypt's future wealth and power. Under HOR-AHA, Egypt transformed from a newly united kingdom into a formidable regional power, a force to be reckoned with. HOR-AHA's burial, however, reveals a darker and more shocking aspect of his reign. At his grand tomb in Abydos, the traditional burial ground for early kings, archaeologists found something chilling. Surrounding his tomb were the graves of dozens of attendants, young men and women from the royal court. Evidence strongly suggests they were sacrificed upon his death, buried to continue serving their king in the afterlife. This practice of retainer sacrifice shows just how absolute royal power had become. The pharaoh's life didn't end at death, and neither did his authority. His power extended beyond the grave, and his servants were expected to follow him. So, what is the legacy of HOR-AHA? He accomplished what Narmer, the unifier, could not. He made Egypt stable. He created the systems that would allow it to endure: a centralized government, a unified state, religion, a strategy of expansion, and a culture of absolute loyalty to the crown. Without HOR-AHA, Narmer's military conquest may well have crumbled back into chaos and civil war. Together, Narmer the conqueror and HOR-AHA the builder created ancient Egypt. And that's why HOR-AHA matters. Narmer may have united Egypt with the sword, but HOR-AHA built it with strategy, politics, and belief. Every pharaoh who ruled for the next 3 millennia followed the path he set, a divine king ruling from a central capital, leading an empire guided by faith and power. Egypt didn't survive for 3,000 years by accident. It survived because of the foundations laid by HOR-AHA. If you want to hear more stories from the dawn of ancient Egypt, like and subscribe. The first dynasty holds many more secrets that are waiting to be told.